The things the city do for water. For more than half a century, from 1892 until 1951, a mineral well right in the middle of Main and Center Streets in Arlington was part of the city's character. It was also a rallying place for everything from trade days and prohibition rallies to women's suffrage and parades. OK Carter here with another Arlington time capsule. This is not that well, though it's a nice looking replica put up by developer Gary Walker. The original not so scenic well had a larger containment area than this one, located a block and a half south of here, which we will visit shortly. Here's the story. In 1891, local mover and shaker Rice Collins, eventually they named the street after him, Collins Street, decided the city needed a deep well to provide water for everybody to come into town. The city's population at the time was maybe 500 hardy souls. Everybody liked the idea so much that they dug deep into their own pockets to pay for it. They decided the well should be drilled right in the middle of Center and Main Streets, about as middle as you can get in Arlington. The city's address numbering system starts north, south, east, west at Center and Main. Why a well? Well, people get thirsty. So do livestock. Also, if there's a fire, and there will be, a source of water is needed, for your bucket brigade like this one. Driller Sam Schaefer and his crew, funded by citizen dollars, set up a steam-powered drill fueled by a few cords of firewood. He began to bore into the earth 100 feet, 200 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet. Finally, at 1,800 feet, after he'd worn out numerous drill bits crunching through layers of limestone and sandstone, the crew finally hit a gusher, a real gusher, water pouring out under its own power and spilling down the street. An estimated 50,000 gallons a day. Must have been quite the mess. Well, that got your attention, didn't it? Let's pick up this story at the original site. It's that away, across the railroad tracks, 1.5 blocks. Here we are at City Hall Plaza. Center Street is right behind me. Main Street once ran right where I'm standing until it was curved a bit to make the library and City Hall fit. This sculpture is a mirrored labyrinth called Your Way by Danish sculptor Jep Hein. It's a gift from the Cowboys and owner Jerry Jones. I'm using it because if you drew an angle from it to the Center Street, past the front door of the George Hawks Library to the middle of the center, it'll take you right to the original wellhead. Unfortunately, not much to look at, but here it is. I don't need to tell you not to stand in the middle of the street looking for it, do I? The celebration when water began spilling from the new well didn't last very long. A geologist from UTA told me the water gushed off from what's called the Pennsylvania age, the Pennsylvania era, which is even older than me, 300 million years back, roughly. The water was laced with bitter salt, sodium sulfate, along with iron, magnesium, calcium, and bicarbonate, sort of carbon dioxide. It smelled bad. Tasted worse. It was mineral water, what they labeled Carlsbad water. Carlsbad then being a famous spa in Bohemian with really nasty water, but with alleged healing properties. Though this turn of events was initially disappointing, Collins put his very best spin on the issue. He said the water was medicinal, by golly. Good for you, the fix for a variety of ailments. Arlington, he said, could capitalize on this bonanza to become a spa center. There was some of that, along with maybe another 100 places in Texas with similar claims. Arlington did end up with a couple of spas, but never made it really big in the mineral water business as compared to, say, Mineral Wells, 68 miles west of here, which tapped into the same water strata and at one point hosted like 150,000 visitors a year. Even so, the well did become the town center, everything sort of spinning out from it. It was a place where town whittlers or tobaccateurs collected to trade news or gossip. The place farmers waited to sell their bales of hay. It was here that people came to endorse or resist everything from free silver and prohibition to giving women the vote. I like this landscaping at City Hall. It's right where Main Street would have come through originally. They did find other uses for the water. Arlington Crystals was a kind of Epsom salts and sold for a quarter century. At its zenith, 2,000 bottles a day until the Food and Drug Administration started getting picky about the claimed benefits. Science has a way of messing up a good business. They also sprinkle the water on the city's dirt streets to solidify the soil. This sort of worked, but it would dry into a white powder that everything picked up in the wind. So the grit turned things white. When it rained and washed the grit away, you'd realize that the white dog was actually yellow, that the White House was actually light blue, sort of like the second half of The Wizard of Oz. When the college that would eventually become UTA was more oriented to military training, new cadets would be marched to the well in order to take a long, nasty drink. Did I mention the water had a sort of laxative effect? Regardless, the well became a source of community identity.
The well was the object of considerable community pride. Some civic group or another tended to remodel the facade every 10 or 15 years, replacing concrete with marble and adding ornamentation like lions' heads.
Why the lion's heads all over downtown? It's a long story, 3,000 years old in fact. The ancient Egyptians signified water with a lion's head, something the Greeks picked up after Alexander the Great's invasion of Egypt. The Romans picked it up from the Greeks. Eventually it was emulated by well designers in Arlington. I guess it was the classic look. Today, it's just a link with the city's past and old downtown. In 1951 though, the city capped the well and paved over the site. Some years ago, when I was still in the newspaper business, I asked the mayor, Tom Vandergriff, why they'd flattened the well. He said it's because drivers kept running into it. That's a good reason, since autos are considerably more rapid than mule-pulled wagons. In retrospect, it might have been better, historically anyway, to make a roundabout. It's easy enough, though, today to figure out what politics should have been like 68 years ago. Next time you're downtown, check it out, though I know what you're thinking. The well is gone, so why should I? Well, you can still visit the replica at Vandergrift Plaza. That's across from the Arlington Music Hall. This location is also not without historical significance. You can check out the new George Hawks Downtown Library right behind me. It's very cool. The interurban electric trolley line once ran a half block from here, that way. So if you'd have been standing also right here on December 23rd, 1892, you'd have had to duck because you would have found yourself in the middle of a gunfight that left 4 men and a horse dead. This is Arlington's version of the gunfight at the OK Corral. Open with water, closed with water. I'm told we could reconnect with the mineral well strata if we so wanted. Maybe build that roundabout with a nice fountain filled with really strange tasting water, but probably not. There's not that much market for mineral water these days, and auto drivers still drive way too fast. But you should check out this area anyway, maybe with your kids. While you're here, you can see how many historical markers kids can find within, say, 150 yards of City Hall. Here's a hint. There are 22. Yep, 22. It's kind of an entertaining and educational historical scavenger hunt. Stick around for closing credits and you'll see a quick preview of those. See you at the next Arlington Time Capsule.